It's you can imagine meditation as if it's a road, and the end destination is end of your suffering. For some people, it's enlightenment or bliss, nirvana, etc. And along this road, there are tons of distractions. There are people trying to lead you away. So those are your distractions, your negative emotions, it could be positive emotions, desires, etc. And you're walking down this path, but you're actually blindfolded before you start meditating. These people are leading you away. And when they lead you away, you follow them, right? Because you can't see. And then you're basically controlled by that emotion, that desire. And then before you know it, you're no longer on your path. So then that emotion rises up, you are lost, it becomes very strong. You could keep feeling that emotion and removing that blindfold so you can see what's going on. We're human, right? We have to have emotions. It's normal because that's how you experience life.
All right, we're back. Welcome back to Beyond the Hustle, everybody. We're here. As you know, episode 22, I bring a very interesting character. I can sense his energy already. But before I get into that, as you know on this show, we explore the nexus between spirituality, entrepreneurialism. As you know, it's been brought to you by Madam Vision, creative agency, and we're based here in Taipei, Taiwan, recorded live at Core Cultural Studios. I'm here with Danny Won. How you doing, Danny?
Good.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you, Albert.
And Danny is a mindful meditation practitioner and coach, and he has created his own very unique center called Infinium. Can you tell me a little about Infinium before we dive into some topics?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me on this podcast.
My
Very
pleasure.
excited to be here.
My pleasure.
And I'm very excited to share about meditation, spirituality, and I think there's a lot of synchronicities going on today. So a little bit about Infinium. We were founded around 2 years ago, and it's in Da'an near Siwei Road.
Nice.
And I started meditating around 10 years ago, and I moved back to Taiwan around the same time.
Nice.
And I began meditating actually because of a brain injury in college.
Wow.
So it affected both my cognition and my speech. Basically my entire life was turned upside down because of my injury. And both Western and Chinese medicine couldn't really resolve the issue. So my family ended up referring me to their spiritual teacher, which is how I got into meditation. So after I started practicing meditation, even though it was very boring in the beginning, because when you're in your 20s, you just want to go out and party and explore the world. But then I couldn't live my life properly, right? So I was basically forced to get into this. So in the beginning, it was really tough. But after around a few months of practice, I was given homework of doing 1 hour a day of meditation. And after a grueling 2 months or so, I suddenly went into meditation state. My mind was blown. I was completely inspired to continue. And then after that, it really became my passion.
Wow.
Yeah, so meditation is something that I do every day. And because I started meditating, I overcame my physical issue. So
that's amazing.
So with meditation practice, I overcame my issue, which is why I truly believe in mind over matter. And at the same time, it also elevated and improved all qualities, all aspects of my life. So my life basically changed after I started meditating.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and as a result, I wanted to share my experience and create a space which is multi-faith, non-religious in Taipei for people to learn. So our space is really a training center because I really view meditation as training, but for your mind. So our place is really, the concept is really a training center for your mind or for your soul.
You said mind gym earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so for you to learn more about yourself and also elevate and evolve at the same time. Yeah,
that's
so
amazing.
We provide all different types of meditation classes. We have around 14 teachers now, and we also have a psychotherapist on site. I do mainly one-on-one coaching, and we do sometimes events outside and private events as well. So when you're nearby, when you're near, you're welcome to come visit. Yeah.
I have to go. Yeah. Our producer here, Armel, I believe he has attended your space as well. He told me that it's quite the space, and that's quite. I think that's very interesting. That it's almost like a very. I'm trying to use the words correctly, but Would you say it's like a more hip introduction
I
to
would say,
meditation?
right, exactly. It's a little bit more modern. There are no icons, there are no statues you have to pray to. Some people these days are not as interested in religions because they find that there may be too many rituals involved. Even though
Right,
religions are promoting the same thing. So it's all about, just love, energy,
right,
yeah, faith,
right,
harmony, etc., etc. And I think all of the ideas from religion are pure. But
right.
sometimes if they're interpreted by humans, the original meaning can change. So we try to take some philosophies from religion. Personally, I'm a Buddhist, so I feel that Buddhism itself is a philosophy and a science. So nowadays, science has proven that meditation works to improve your brain, to change your brain because of neuroplasticity. It can change your brain. So we try to take some ancient techniques that might come from certain religions, but we try to make them we try to boil them down into something that is just that can be maybe measured or more scientific.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the current, I feel like, state of the world right
Right,
now, is that
right.
there's this. I know in Buddhism you talk very deeply about
Yeah.
duality,
Yeah.
and I feel like the two mascots for this duality now is science and spirit. How do you navigate that divide?
Well, I think, as you said, duality, non-duality, and emptiness, which I mean, it's very hard to explain in words, right? Something that you have to
Right.
feel or to realize yourself. But it could be explained as, let's say, how do you define this? Some people would call it water, right? Other people might say, oh, it's a glass or it's a bottle. So many different ways, depending on your perspective and your how you view this item. There could be millions of explanations, or it could be just atoms vibrating, molecules vibrating, at a deeper level. Everything is the same. Everything is just molecules or atoms vibrating.
Right.
So because of that, nothing really exists, which is what emptiness is.
And there is kind of like a feeling of paradoxically knowing.
Right. Yeah.
This is something that I've, at least from some of the people in my life that I've spoken with or encountered, who are very, very attuned with Buddhist philosophy or Zen philosophy. It's so hard because I feel like I've always been a person I want to kind of bridge and connect, but I also talk with many atheists, many super scientific minded, skeptical minded, chaos theory, string theory minded people who they really negate and they reject these ideas of everything being connected. So how do you feel? Yeah, how do you deal with people like that, or how do you accept people like that?
I think, as I tell my students, actually, that a lot of people don't understand what meditation is. So often we get asked, what is meditation exactly? Because it's something so abstract. So I usually, like I said, because our concept is a training center, right? So I like to compare meditation and maybe spirituality as it's like working out, or it's like exercise.
Right.
How would you define exercise, right? Or what exercise type works for you?
Right.
It's different for everyone. Some people like yoga, others like Pilates, or CrossFit,
Right.
strength training, or biking, cycling,
Right.
running. It could be different for everyone. So just because cycling works for you doesn't mean it will work for me. Or just because I like yoga doesn't mean you'll like it too. But they're all forms of exercise. Yeah, and it helps you to stay fit or stay lean, or build muscle.
Right.
Yeah. So meditation is the same. You have to find the right type for you. And I think, in turn, related to that, because you asked about different philosophies or religions,
Yeah.
I think you just have to find the right type for you. There's no right or wrong, in my
Right.
opinion. Yeah, just
That's interesting.
what is suitable for that person. So that person might really be able to grow and evolve because he or she is practicing that philosophy or religion. But just because it works for him doesn't mean, or him or her, it doesn't mean it will work for others.
So it's truly unique to every single person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's why I don't judge people based on their philosophy, their creed or religion, because I think everybody can take their time. First of all, there's a timing thing, and also they're on a different path.
Right.
Yeah. If it doesn't align with my path, I don't judge.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
In your system, is there I guess a framework of, the word judgment is interesting because it's like, what do you define as judgment? What's your definition of judgment?
I think for me, maybe before I started practicing meditation, I would be definitely more judgmental. So my definition would be good or bad,
Interesting.
black or white, right or wrong. For me, I used to be a person that didn't really have any gray area. Yeah. So for me, it was either one way or the other. Yeah. But now I realize there's so many nuances, and there's no such thing as good or bad, right or wrong, black or white. Yeah.
What did that realization, how'd that change your perspective?
I think it really just came from really practicing meditation, but at the same time, meeting lots of different people from all walks of life, talking to different people, going to places, traveling, and realizing that, the world is so much bigger than your own definition or how you define it or how you view it.
Right.
Yeah. That there's just no way to define anything. Yeah.
Right. That's the tricky. I know it's interesting that we're on a podcast, and of course, it's always great to tell stories and to share experiences.
Yeah.
But I always joke that, ironically, even words can be so limiting to feel to what you can feel or what you can experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why when you ask about religion, it's so hard to explain, because the source of religion, is just pure energy, love or light. But how can you translate that into words? So it has to be done by a human, right? Because after all, we're humans. We need words to understand things. But when it's being translated, or when it's been translated, especially religions that are thousands of years old, then it may not apply to people who are living in modern society. They may not understand it.
Yeah.
Even though the original message still applies today. Yeah.
I love how that message can kind of blossom in all kinds of forms. As you know, here we specialize in telling the story of artists or artworks.
Okay.
You saying that reminds me of one of my favorite books by Ursula Le Guin.
Okay.
Called The Wizard of Earthsea.
Oh. Okay.
And in this, please, people, check it out. It's such a. Of course, these wisdoms come from she has, openly said that a lot of her stories are from, Buddhist archetypal stories, but her character lives in a world where there's an old speech, or there's an original language in the world prior to the naming of things. And so the most powerful wizards or mages are able to access this almost hidden knowledge within the world, or this hidden language. Yeah. And if you know that language, you then can perhaps manipulate things. And it's funny how you said the bottle, because there's a famous scene where he takes a stone and he says, "This is a stone, but if you know the true name of this stone," and then he utters the true name, he turns it into a diamond. But he says there will always be a stone, though, even if it looks like a diamond. Yeah. So, I mean, does that sound like something in the Buddhist aspects of teachings?
I think it's a way of explaining emptiness, for sure. Yeah.
So let's talk about emptiness. Well, actually, before we talk about emptiness, I'm still a little bit hung up on, what kind of injury did you have?
I hit my head. I had a brain injury, so I hit my head outside. I fell, and then I hit the street concrete on the street level. Wow. And then in the beginning, I think it didn't really affect me too much, but I just felt that I had a constant hangover.
Yeah, over time, sometimes.
Yeah, brain fog. And I just couldn't concentrate, and it started to get worse. I felt that I couldn't speak properly. I kind of developed a stutter, and then, I was already in school, right? So I needed to go to class, but I couldn't focus in class, study for exams, etc. So it really started affecting my life. So I would say it was probably the worst period of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, turned my life upside down.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, just before this, I saw a very inspiring video about a neurosurgeon who actually left his post to go live in the mountains because he's had enough with the medical system, who are basically.
I think I watched that video.
Really?
Yeah.
As well?
Yeah.
I just saw it today.
Asian guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
See, this is
on
what I
YouTube.
mean.
Yeah.
How do we see things at the same time?
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't finish it yet.
yeah, super
Yeah.
interesting. But basically,
I think it's a pretty long video.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he, in layman's, he left because he had enough of profiting off of people's pain. And that reminded me of kind of what you said. Like, you went to every doctor, you tried to figure it out, and the medicine or the remedy ended up being some of the most simple, healthy, natural things: good sleep, diet, meditation, exercise.
Right. Yeah, and determination.
Let's talk about determination. What is determination?
Well, I'll give myself as an example, because at the time, when the doctors told me that, there's not much we can do to help you.
They said that literally?
They said I'm fine, so they didn't think there was anything wrong with me. But I knew something was wrong.
You felt it.
Yeah.
You're like, nah, my head's not right.
So my determination was that I can overcome it. So I started to look for ways and methods to overcome it. And I'm very grateful for my parents, because they introduced me to my previous teacher, and with practice, it really just took practice and effort, and as well determination, that I can change my brain, which is what happened, and my life as a result. I didn't think my life would change. I thought I would just overcome this issue and I would just go back to my normal life, but surprisingly, my entire life changed.
Unlocking other levels.
Yeah, my interest in Buddhism opened up spirituality. I started learning about other religions, started doing a lot of pilgrimages around the world, meeting different teachers, masters, and learning more and more about spirituality and meditation.
I mean, ultimately, this does flip or shift the paradigm for many people, because we have been very conditioned to believe in a systematic structure of science.
Yes.
And there is this, you talk about, I hinted at judgment. Who has our final judgment on health?
Yeah.
Doctors. So what happens when a doctor says, "没办法"?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't believe in 没办法 though. You don't, sorry, 没办法, for everyone who doesn't speak Chinese, means nothing we can do. 没办法 basically means we don't know.
There's no way, yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Which is I have an emotional reaction to 没办法. It makes me angry. Maybe I need more meditation. What's your take with 没办法?
I think it really depends on the situation. Yeah. But I do think I associate us, maybe nowadays less so, but previously I did associate a slightly more negative feeling or emotion with 没办法. Yeah. Because I feel like anything is possible. Yeah.
I feel like anything is possible.
Yeah.
Is that something you've learned or come to believe in your discovery of meditation?
I think to a certain extent, yes, because of my belief in mind over matter. And I also believe that even though we're human, even though we have a physical human body form, our mind, and some people could call it soul or heart, depending on your philosophy, it's limitless, right? So, and it's connected to something bigger. So that potential is, infinite, whereas we are constrained by other social constructs, our human body, our physical body. And if you can't wrap your mind around the fact that we're not just our body, then you might be limited to just that.
Can you describe a little bit more that unlimited experience? Like when you're in a state of meditation and you're connecting with this unlimitedness.
I think these days a lot of people are talking about AI, right? It's a trending topic.
Right.
So I like to compare meditation, my meditation technique, or the form I learned from my teacher, as ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is always learning, and it's always building its database. And when you input a question or you research something on ChatGPT, it's always adjusting itself over time, right? It's always picking stuff up on the internet. But at the same time, it doesn't really know what it's gonna be asked. So it's collecting a lot of information, but you don't really know when. the system doesn't really know when they need to output that information.
Right.
So the form of meditation I'm learning is also, going to different energy sources or connecting with the universe, and also kind of, you could say, kind of downloading different information, yeah, to increase that database, yeah, in my mind. So there's the brain mind, and then there's the spiritual mind, right? Yeah, so that's the spiritual mind gaining more, increasing the database. So when I need to use it, then I could use that database and then maybe answer some questions or solve different problems in my life. Or maybe when I'm meditating, I'll have a realization, everything will make sense when I have an issue or I have a concern or I have a problem I need to deal with. Then I'll just try and tap into that network to help me solve a problem or to help me evolve and change. Whereas the traditional form of meditation could be compared to, going to the library, doing research. When you have a problem, a question, you go to the library, and then you go read a book. You have to search through everything, and you read the book, and then maybe it gives you, a few answers, but it might not answer your question. So you have to keep searching, right? And it could be tiring, and you might not get what you want.
Right.
So, I mean, there's no right or wrong, because libraries and books are tested with time. AI is still very new.
Right.
Yeah. So it might work for some people. Some people are very theoretical. They like to research religion. They like to go, read the Bible, the Quran.
They like to see the scrolls.
Yeah, see the scrolls, read Buddhist sutras. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I feel personally this type of meditation is more suitable for me. It's helped me to grow over the past 10 years.
Does that have a name or a style? Does it have a term?
Yeah. In Chinese, my teacher just calls it Xing Fa, so the way of the heart or soul.
That's
They're
right.
just,
Xing means heart.
yeah,
And Fa
is
means
the way, or
the way.
philosophy.
Xing Fa.
Yeah. So it's really about connecting to your true nature, your soul, which is in turn, connected to the universe. So because you are connected to the universe or your soul, you have access to that network. Whereas if you are limited to your physical brain or your body, then you only have what's inside, your knowledge base, your database of your brain, which is very much limited.
Yeah. I hear that analogy and it makes me think, I like that you're using ChatGPT, but I almost think of it basically as, if we are a computer, everything we've learned is code.
Yeah.
But what you're tapping into is electricity.
Yeah.
Right, and the electricity is...
Or internet, yeah.
Or the internet, essentially.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is, like, there's a phenomenon where certain people come up with the same ideas in remote regions of the world. Yeah. And where does that come from?
Yeah.
And there's a name for it. People call it the ether, or the
source.
This source, or the universal consciousness,
or God.
Or God. What is your take on that whatever the name is that you can tap into?
I think this is also related to emptiness, right? Because it can't, or as you said, some things can't really be explained in words. But we try to do it because we feel like we need to define it, everything, anything.
Right.
I feel like this is something that really cannot be defined. I think if you try to define it, it would cheapen the experience or cheapen what it is. Yeah.
I say the closest thing to that is probably art or poetry.
Right. Music. Yeah.
Music.
Yeah.
Are there any quotes that come to mind that might have guided you or like felt like, wow, that's close?
I think one of my favorite quotes is, you are nothing, but you're also everything. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the core of it.
Yeah.
Is there a situation where you've encountered somebody who's come to your Infinium, your group, completely a certain way, and then you recognize the transformation? For
sure. I think my students, seeing them grow is what keeps me going back to my, I could call it a job, but it doesn't feel like a job to me because, you know, it's my passion. I'm sure it's like you being here today, you know.
For sure,
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
doesn't feel like work. So I there are many different types of students, but all of them come either to learn more about themselves or to resolve any emotional problems or relationship issues that they have. But I think overall and generally, if they are willing to put in the work, because it's like working out, you can't build muscle sitting at home doing nothing, right? You still have to go to the gym, or you go work out at home. No matter what you do, you have to continue working out. You have to have a regimen. So seeing my students is like finding a PT, personal trainer at a gym. They learn the techniques. They have tools to go home and continue training. So it's like, you know, they learn how to use machines at the gym. Or if you compare it to skincare, they get the products to apply to their skin. But once they're home, they need to continue applying products. And over time, their skin will improve.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
we're talking about the mind.
Yeah.
We're talking about the nature of
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah. So over time, as they come back periodically, and if they put in the work, then definitely you see changes in them. Yeah. But I would say they become happier in general. They're less stressed. They're less, or if they don't become happier, they're less unhappy, for sure. Yeah, because they know more about themselves. They know some people, if they're searching for purpose or meaning, they found more meaning in their lives, or they realize that they're no longer controlled by their emotions or thoughts or desires, etc. Yeah, that they're more in control. They're more aware of what's going on, both outside and within them.
I remember hearing a quote about happiness, and we always ask each other, like, very, very naturally, "Are you happy? Like, does that make you happy?"
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What are you doing to make you happy? We always say this word, happy, and I remember seeing this quote that's saying that happy is the wrong word. Happy implies an end or a finish, and that's impossible. So the correct implication is what makes you happier. And I like that you just said that. You just like they're starting to be happier.
Yeah.
Because happier is infinite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's your relationship to happiness? Or how would you describe happiness?
I think you described it very well. I would say slightly the opposite. I usually say we are training ourselves not to become happy, but to become less unhappy, to get rid of your unhappiness. Because, as you said, I think happiness could be an end goal, could be most people's end goal, but when you reach it, then it's
There's always
temporary.
something. There's always something
Then
next.
you feel like, okay, then what? Or what now, right? Because of the dopamine addiction. So you feel like, oh, when I get that car, when I buy the house, when I become happy, then, you know, problem solved. But usually when you reach that goal, you feel a void. You feel like, oh, it wasn't what I expected, or it wasn't as good as I thought. And you start chasing for more and more. So a lot of people chase happiness, but that is an attachment in itself, that you're always chasing either happiness or pleasure. That, you know, life is not just about pleasure and happiness. You have to accept pain and accept the negative emotions. And as a result, you'll be less unhappy, because if you're always chasing happiness, if you're always trying to feel good, the day when you get sick, really sick, or the day when you're in pain, you won't be able to accept it. It'll be worse, because pain is also very much psychological. But if you condition yourself to know that everything is temporary, pain could be also temporary, even if it leads to death, your death is just the beginning of something else, then when you have that understanding, you know that, oh, maybe I can accept this pain more, or that it's just, you know, a phase. But some people, when they're experiencing pain, they can't take that pain, whether it be emotional or physical, and then they break down either way. Either they start using medication or, you know, drugs to numb it, or alcohol.
Right.
Yeah. So a big part of what I try to get students to learn is to accept pain. And I mean, if you can't accept it, it's fine, but you try to understand it first. Yeah. In addition to other negative emotions, it's all part of life.
Right. It is.
And then when you have happiness, you realize that, okay, I'm happy now, but I don't need to chase it. I'll immerse myself in this happiness. I will really enjoy it, but I also know that it's just temporary, just like pain. Yeah. And over time, maybe those fluctuations in your emotions, whether it be good or bad, they won't be as like a roller coaster. And you'll find, I would say, contentment and joy last longer.
When you say it like that too, it makes me visualize like a constant note. And I know in the Buddhism world, you know, you have the powerful dome.
Right, yeah. Oh, we can practice later, a chant.
We can do it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm down, I'm down. But that's interesting how you describe that state of, that, what is it about that you think is very attractive to us or to Buddhists or you know, spiritual practitioners, mindful. Why do you think we are looking to be in that calm state as opposed to the fluctuations?
So that's a really good question. A lot of people have this question. They wonder, oh, if I become a practitioner, if I meditate often, am I gonna become emotionless? Right? Am I gonna be like really boring? I won't feel anything. That I'll just be there and be a little bit numb to everything, or I won't react to anything. But actually, I was telling Armel the other day when he came to Infinium, you are just more aware. So it's about, you can imagine meditation as if it's a road, and the end destination is, or life as a road, and the end destination is end of your suffering, or maybe it's, for some people, it's enlightenment, or bliss, nirvana, etc. That could be the end goal. And along this road, there are tons of distractions. There are people trying to lead you away. So those are your distractions, your negative emotions, it could be positive emotions, desires, etc. Anything that could distract you. And you're walking down this path, but you're actually blindfolded before you start meditating. So you don't know what's going on. And these people are leading you away. And when they lead you away, then you follow them, right? Because you can't see. And then you're basically controlled by that emotion, that desire, that feeling, that thought. And then before you know it, you're no longer on your path. So then that emotion rises up, you are lost, and then it becomes very strong. You could keep feeling that emotion. For example, sadness. If you're lost in sadness, you drown yourself in sadness, then it becomes depression, right? If you're always angry, then you start to have maybe liver problems or health problems. Yeah. Or if you're always, let's say,
that's wild.
It's like the movie Inside Out. There's no emotion that should be in control all the time. Yeah. So I think it's about removing that blindfold so you can see what's going on. So we're human, right? We have to have emotions. Is normal, because that's how you experience life fully, to have emotions. But the point of meditation is to be aware of which people are who is leading you away. For example, anger is in front of me. I can see anger. I can see that I'm about to be angry, and I know I need to be angry. Then I can use this person, this emotion, as a tool. So I follow the anger, I release my anger, but then very quickly I can go back to my path. Yeah, and I'll be back to my baseline, neutral state, and I'll be on my way towards my end goal. I'm no longer affected by that emotion. So there's been a study on Buddhist monks, the brain scan, maybe you read about it, where they have, they create pain for both experienced meditators and non-meditators.
They give them a stimulus, some kind of stimulus,
Yeah, I don't know if you talked about it already, otherwise I can skip it.
No, keep going.
Yeah. So and then how it works is the test subject needs to push a button. And when you push the button, then you feel the pain. So they're measuring all of this, right?
Right.
And for the experienced meditators, it was usually a monk,
right.
Buddhist monk, Tibetan monk. And when they press a button, then of course the pain receptors feel the pain. It goes up a bit, but then immediately it comes back down to baseline.
Mind over matter.
Yeah. And then for people who don't meditate, even before they press the button, the pain receptors already go up. they're already feeling the pain because they know when they press it, it's gonna be painful. And then they feel the pain, they feel the shock or whatever, the pierce, and then slowly over time, it starts to.
So they dwell on it. They're just
It doesn't really go down quickly because they feel like, oh, it's so painful, and then it's still in their mind, you know. They can't accept it because they're not used to feeling pain.
That's one of the trippiest things when it comes to the mind's obsession with uncomfort or fear or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like the most famous meme is that little baby crying in the ocean, and then the mom just comes over and just stands him up, and the water is like at his knees.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I feel like that analogy is so great for so many people in so many situations, because why do you think there's this obsession with dwelling on pain or discomfort or complaining? Why do people like to do that in your opinion?
I think sometimes it feels good to have emotion. Some people like to feel sad. Maybe it creates attention. Maybe they feel like they feel more alive when they're emotional. Maybe they're a bit lost, so they feel like they need to have emotions to feel alive. They need to have external stimuli, distractions. They follow their desires and chase them to create a sense of happiness, false happiness. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that makes the vibration, the vibrato, if you're talking about
vibrato.
If we're talking about notes again, that makes it, much bigger. Yeah. Or if you compare it to an ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. The waves, it's like a tsunami. If you don't meditate, the waves come up, you have a huge emotional rise, and then you fall.
So it's just like
up and down.
Which creates, from what you guys described, like instability or a sense of loss or a sense of no direction.
Right.
So would you feel like Buddhism is really about direction? You're very intentional with direction?
I think I personally am. Maybe I'm more goal oriented, but I shouldn't.
Of course, we can't talk about on behalf of the entire.
I shouldn't represent Buddhism, but from my understanding, I think there wouldn't be any end goal. It's about being present. Yeah.
Truly present in the moment.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and enjoying every moment, or being fully present at every moment, and being practicing full awareness of everything that's going on and accepting them. Yeah, not rejecting anything. Yeah.
That's great.
So I would say Buddhists, maybe a traditional Buddhist would not set a goal. Yeah. Hardcore Buddhists would not set a goal because you may not reach that goal, right? You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's more about being present.
Truly.
Yeah.
Is there, you mentioned that you have a mentor. Is there a mentor or some figures, characters, monks within your experience that you've almost witnessed this we talk about words like enlightenment, or a popular word now, actually it's becoming a slang term, is aura.
Yeah.
Aura is in the lexicon now. His aura is crazy. Have you experienced people with this certain aura or this certain...
For sure. It's, a simple way to explain it is that someone with who is high vibe. There's high vibe and low vibe people. I'm sure you've experienced that. So high vibe people, when they walk into a room, it lights up. They literally light up a room, and you feel like you want to be near them. So their frequency or their vibration is very high. So they're vibrating at a very fast pace, and when you're vibrating so quickly, then you, even if they're not enlightened, they're closer to the level of enlightenment because they're no longer at a level of thought or emotion. Yeah. So it's full awareness, full consciousness, and being fully present. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, it's low vibe people, and we all go through different states, different stages in life, and
100%.
we all have our lows in life, but you could you could compare it to people maybe who work at a funeral home. If you've been, they kind of look drained, a bit lifeless, or people who are depressed, people who are severely ill, or people who might be withdrawing from alcohol or
Right.
substances.
Right.
Yeah, they kind of look lifeless. Like all the life has been drained from them. And just seeing them sometimes or touching them, hugging them, it might make you feel tired. Yeah. So that would be lower vibe or low vibe. And I mean the lowest vibe is when you pass away, right? And then
Yeah.
negative would be spirits, if you believe in them.
Of course.
So I think enlightenment could be related to energy. There's a skill actually developed by a doctor that maybe the viewers can look into this. It's called a Hawkins energy scale.
Okay.
Yeah. So it shows the corresponding emotion or feeling depending on your vibration.
Wow.
Yeah. So the highest vibration people would be, I would say, the people who are enlightened. And if my teacher is not enlightened, or if the people the teachers or masters I've encountered are not enlightened, then they're definitely very close. Yeah. And when you see them, they're literally
Beaming.
Yeah. So there's a reason why, you're in the art industry, right? When you see Tibetan tankas,
Right.
or Christian paintings, they have
Halos,
the halo, right?
auras.
Yeah, the aura.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because they're very high vibe. And just their presence can infect other people with positivity, with love. They don't have to say anything. They can just be there, and people will already feel good. They'll forget their problems because their vibration is being lifted up. So that's why I actually talk about this sometimes. It's a little bit more abstract,
No, I love
but if you're spiritual, if you're religious, and you go to, let's say, a temple or a church, a cathedral, you suddenly feel peaceful or calm. It might be due to to Jesus, to Buddha, to the religion, but at the same time, it's also due to the vibration of the space. It's high vibe, so it's lifting up your vibe, and as a result, some people suddenly receive inspiration. They feel like, oh, I know the answer to my problems, because it could be, connecting with Jesus or God or Buddha, but at the same time, it could be that they're connecting to their intuition, their soul. And when you're higher vibe, you are able to connect to your soul easier. So, it's like Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the Wi-Fi signal is strong, or if your radio is tuned in. I mean, these days people don't really listen to radio, but if your radio is tuned into the right channel, then you pick up the music. Then you receive the news. So, but then if you're low vibe, then it doesn't mean it's not there.
Static.
Yeah.
Just static.
You're just not tuned in. Or it could be you're just not connected to the internet. You have all these messages. Your phone is on, but you're on airplane mode, or your Wi-Fi can't connect. So all the messages are there, but they can't come in. But then when you connect, they suddenly come in. That's why when people go to a temple, they go to a church, or they meet a teacher, they go into meditation, they improve, they raise their frequency. Then suddenly they feel like, oh, I understand now. But that's from connection to either the universe, to God, or to themselves, to their soul. Yeah, could be many different forms. Yeah.
We call that word epiphany.
Yeah.
And hopefully more epiphanies are inspired or induced.
Or realization. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So some of the most important lessons I learned are through self-realization, through either helping other people, through experiencing life, through dealing with my problems during meditation. Then I have a self-realization. And then when I go research into religions, different religions or philosophies, I find the relation to my realization to the original theory. Because I'm not a very theoretical person. So I do read, but then if I read too much, I'll get bored. So I like practicing meditation to experience spirituality. Yeah.
I think you made a great point some time back in our convo about the analogy between going to the library and, of course, now in the future using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
What's your take on the evolution or the progression of the spiritual community, Buddhism community. What are the factions? Buddhism, there's Zen Buddhism, Tibetan
so
Buddhism.
many, yeah.
There's a lot of factions.
The major three would be Mahayana.
Mahayana?
Which is what you see mainly in Taiwan.
Okay.
So Chinese Buddhism.
Okay.
And then Zen Buddhism would be part of that.
All right.
Slightly, it could be also, Zen Buddhism in Japan is slightly related to Tibetan Buddhism. Yeah, depending how you see it. But there's Mahayana, then there's Theravada, which is Southern Buddhism, India, Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, etc. And then there's Vajrayana, which is Tibetan Buddhism. Yeah, so three main forms of Buddhism, and they're all similar, but different ways of thought, different schools of thought.
Coming to that.
Yeah.
That essential truth. And are they all headed towards or attempting to head towards what they feel is nirvana, enlightenment, bliss?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's my question is, with those three major, so to say, styles, those have been around for how many years? Thousands, right?
Thousands, yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah.
I'm interested in
3,000 or thousands, yeah.
Wow. So I'm interested in like the analogy of like, right? This November, iPhone 16 is coming out, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is so obsessed with tech and progress.
Yeah.
But I imagine also in the realm of Buddhism, they are also making these progressive steps as time passes. So my question to you is, now here in 2024, you being a young practitioner of Buddhism, of your own style,
Yeah.
how are you reinterpreting the history?
I see. Okay.
And do you have these convos with your elders? Do the elders look at you like, oh, you're just new school, we don't really support the new school? Are you having these experiences in that realm?
There's actually a divide for sure. So actually in Buddhism, there's a saying called 末法时代, which means it's the period of the end of Buddhism. And Buddhists these days say that we're currently experiencing that. We're reaching the end of Buddhism.
Wow.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So, I mean, I'm still not an expert, so I just, sometimes listen to my teachers or masters, but I feel that it's transforming. So traditionally, Buddhists will say that once we reach this stage, then the future Buddha will come. There's the past Buddha, present Buddha, and future Buddha. So future Buddha is supposed to come back to earth. Maybe it's similar to Jesus returning, right? To enlighten people again, or to teach people.
I know a little of the Dalai Lama story about how his that energy within him does reincarnate, specifically in, I forgot the term, but I remember that he was supposed to reincarnate in this human, this boy, and then apparently that boy was kidnapped.
Yeah.
Or something like this.
It was the Panchen Lama. Usually the Panchen Lama chooses the future Dalai Lama, but the current Panchen Lama was kidnapped.
Yes.
Right.
Something like this,
or
right?
disappeared. Yeah.
And then it
It's
kind of
quite political.
Yeah, I remember this, and it kind of like put it was like a pickle. It put them in a pickle where they didn't.
Right.
We cannot have a successor if you cannot show us the true heir.
Yeah.
So I continue. Sorry, I just. So like this Buddha is on this notion of this. This Buddha is coming back.
Yeah, to kind of save humanity.
Right.
Yeah, and in my belief, it's certainly possible, but maybe Buddhism is transforming into something else, because maybe modern society needs scientific fact or evidence that religions are based on something. Religions work. So, there's no creation without destruction, right? And maybe what it changes into, what it transforms into, could be something even more beautiful, even more pure. Yeah.
So they feel like they're in this stage right now. They sense it too.
Right, because there's less and less practitioners. You probably sense it too. There are less and less religious people, or people who practice religion these days, especially in our generation. Yeah, people don't.
For sure.
Less people believe in God or in different religions these days.
Yeah, and that's interesting to me too, because like I look at it like reinterpretation, where, you know, I think you're in your, how old are you?
I'm 36.
36,
Yeah.
so very, very young man. But of course, you know, a 36-year-old, maybe you're talking to 70, 80, 90-year-old monks.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always think to myself, like, we're still human. Even the highest monk or the most enlightened monk is still human. Do you feel like they have transcended human logic or understanding, or are they still susceptible to looking at the youth and being like, that's not how it's done? Have you experienced that? The filial piety?
I think it depends on the monk. Some would,
True.
you know, care more about hierarchy, tradition, rituals, and the order of things.
I guess what I'm asking, let me rephrase this. Do you see innovation happening within religion, the Buddhist community, meditation
I do,
community?
for sure. Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What kind of innovation are you seeing? And what kind of resistance is that innovation getting?
I mean, for example, some teachers nowadays, Buddhist teachers, they're starting to host online sessions. Tibetan, for example, there's Mingyur Rinpoche, or a lot of different Rinpoches. They're starting to host classes online, and you can just dial in. You can do a Zoom call and learn about Buddhism. And then there are set series of courses that you can get to pass a certain level in Buddhism. You can receive the next level of training. Wow. But historically, you might have to be at the temple, you have to be with the teacher to receive that certification, to progress to the next level. Yeah. And Vajrayana is also known as more of a secret tradition. So teacher passes on to students only. Yeah. But nowadays it's becoming a little bit more, I wouldn't say mass, but more accessible. Yeah. Because less and less people have, I wouldn't say interest, but less and less people are experiencing religion these days. Yeah, because maybe it's, you know, too much stimuli, too much distraction, too much information everywhere.
Do you feel like that's your kind of, your why, your reason for Infinium? Do you feel like you're addressing that? Are you sensing that's happening, and you feel like there's...
Yeah, we definitely target people of our generation, and we feel that they are less attracted to religion, even if they are religious, even if they have a religion.
And they're spiritual.
Yeah, they're more open to, you know, our classes, our sessions, because they know that it's just training for them to improve themselves. They don't need to go through a ritual, you know, to pray, to bow down, or to chant sutra, or even, you know, read different parts of the Bible in order to learn. And even though I think there's nothing wrong with that, but some people might think that it's a bit too old school, or they might think that they don't really know what they're doing, or they don't like to worship. Yeah, but I still worship the Buddha, but I would say I worship his wisdom, you know, his philosophy and what he taught. Yeah, that should be what people are worshiping, not the person itself or himself.
I see the concept, the idea, what he represents, the symbolic nature of Buddhism.
Exactly. So some people will go and worship Buddha or Jesus and pray for things, but I think if you understand religion at its truest form, you should be praying for, you know, more wisdom, or a way to elevate yourself and to understand more about yourself, understand more about the philosophy. Yeah. And in turn, you will get what you pray for. Yeah.
What's an example of...
You might not even want what you pray for anymore.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I was going to say, what's an example of one of your go-to prayers, if you wouldn't mind sharing?
I think these days I really just give thanks. When I'm praying, I express gratitude for everything I've been given, for things that I've learned, for what my students teach me, for being here today. Yeah, meeting new people, being able to share more about meditation, and you know, getting asked hard questions sometimes. Yeah, I think I just try to express gratitude. I think it's so important. These days, I don't really ask for things anymore because I feel I will get what I need. And when I get something, whether it be good or bad, if it's I shouldn't say good or bad, whether it could be, unpleasant or pleasant, then both are ways for me to learn. And both I can be grateful for, because if it's in a pleasant situation or person, I can also learn from that person or situation based on how I react and how I treat that situation.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm a person who likes to overcome obstacles. So I try to overcome different obstacles in my life, whether it be personal or physical, emotional, etc., spiritual. Yeah. So I try to view my spiritual journey or path as an obstacle course. Or like a video game, if people are into video games,
Right.
You pass level 1, then you
Right.
jump to level 2. But if you don't pass level 1, you're always going to be stuck at level 1. So some people, that's why you have to put in the work, and sometimes it's not easy. Some people don't like to face themselves, their fears or their emotions. So they're always, stuck at level 1, and they keep going, they keep repeating through level 1, and then they can't progress.
What are some
It's
examples?
not easy. For example, one of my
Like
first,
your level 2 or your level 3?
one of my first obstacles was overcoming anger,
Of course.
because I don't have a good temper. Yeah, I didn't have a good temper, and I can be very impatient sometimes.
Same.
So how I did that was through meditation, but you're probably wondering why or how. So when you meditate, with the example I gave previously about being aware of that emotion, to understand who it is and when it's coming. So first I would try to understand what triggers my anger. So in Buddhism, there's things called hooks. You have a hook that hooks you. For example, if somebody says that why do you look so tired today? Yeah, if it bothers me, then it hooks me, because I don't like looking tired, for example. Yeah. And if it hooks me, it makes me angry inside, even if I don't show it. And then my anger comes up.
Later.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it could be I could already be boiling inside, but I don't show it. But it doesn't mean I'm not feeling that emotion. So what I did in the beginning was, in addition to meditation, this is actually a meditation. So this is an introspective meditation. When you close your eyes, and then you start to think and analyze what your hooks are. It could be anything. Emotional hooks. So what hooks your sadness? What hooks your anger? What hooks your desire? What hooks your, what makes you happy?
So like just literally constantly asking why.
Yeah, yeah. And
Which
then,
is the foundation.
right. So it could be
Wow.
different hooks, and then there's a corresponding emotion to that hook, and then you start to invite that emotion into your life. You picture yourself inviting that emotion into, for example, the space, and then you start to chat with that emotion as if they're your friend, because often we reject negative emotions. We don't like to deal with them. But if you learn about them, you understand why they come, when they come, then you'll be able to either release them or to use them as a tool rather than be used by them. Because anger in itself is not bad. A lot of people associate anger as a negative emotion, but anger itself is not bad. Anger with love is fine. When a mother or a father, sometimes they need to be angry at their kids, right?
In order to express
Yeah,
love, yeah.
Yeah. Some people don't respond to nice people or to kindness. They respond to anger. Yeah.
Tough love. Tough
Yeah.
love, yeah.
So because they need to be yelled at or they need to feel the anger, then anger is necessary. But when the person being angry is in control, then it's fine. But I wouldn't say most, a lot of people, when they're angry, they lose control. If you're very angry, then you don't even know what you did when you're angry. And then you have to reflect, and maybe you will regret some things you did or you said during your anger, right? So for me, the beginning was to understand what triggered me, to understand my emotion, and to increase my awareness of when it's coming. So I have the choice and I have the the ability to decide whether I should feel that emotion or not. So before I started meditating, maybe if you compare it to like a firecracker, there's a fuse and it's very short. So when you light it, then I'll explode in a second or even less. I just explode with anger. But now it doesn't mean I don't get angry anymore. I'm still human. We're all human. So the fuse is longer. I can see that I might get angry based on what this person did or something I experienced. But I have the ability to process it with my awareness, with my experience in meditation, and to view it from a third person perspective. Is it really worth it to get angry? Do I need to become angry because of this? And before the firecracker explodes, I can either cut it off or let it explode. But it's a controlled explosion.
I like that you're talking about that in that regard, because this is a great metaphor for what's happening on the global stage. And it seems like the hierarchy of our world is built upon individualistic relationships with your emotions, and then it macros to geopolitics, world wars, and that fuse is interesting that, it's here in 2024, and I feel like the fuse has been lit all around the world.
Yeah.
What do you think is the relationship between the individual and the macro group when it comes to anger and violence?
I think definitely the macro is targeting the individual's fear, usually. That's my personal belief. And when we're fearful, we're more able to be controlled because most people don't understand their fears. Yeah. And they feel like if somebody offers them a solution based on their fears, then they will just follow them. Yeah. Whereas if you already understand your fears or you can overcome them, then maybe you'll be less affected by these politicians.
Right. And what kind of interests me too is like, the other day I watched a video on just like gangs.
Okay.
And humans and tribalism.
Okay.
And, we're humans, the animal in us, we can be very volatile. We protect what's ours. We put lines and we'll fight and die for it.
Yeah.
And I know with Buddhism, it's like no attachments, no ownership. There's a sense of peace that they're trying to obtain. But we talked about this a little off camera, about that duality between peace and destruction and violence. And almost as if like two men, when we disagree, there is a notion of if we have to fight, we will fight.
Yeah.
And that keeps peace. How do you interpret that dance? How do you interpret that dance in your perspective?
I think it's quite a tough question. Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's like, again, I'm just trying to kind of steer us together, but it's like, of course, between two nations, there's always the impending use of the red button.
Force.
Right, and that in return is kind of like don't cross this line or else. And then the other person is like, are you bluffing?
Yeah.
I want to cross the line and I'm going to cross the line. And then at what point does the explosion need to happen? And is that part of the balance?
I would say it's also fear-based, right? Because you're scared that the other party will do something, so you don't do it. Yeah. And the other side would have the same thought. They would also have a certain element of fear because they're worried about their citizens, their country, etc. If war happens, their economy, what would happen? So they try to avoid it. That's why fear is still useful, because if you're fearless, you could be a very destructive person or a country. Yeah. So I would say a lot of governments are definitely fear-based rather than faith-based, and people as well. But it's quite hard to adapt, you know. But in a way, I think people are transforming. It's a very transformative period for everybody spiritually. So hopefully these things will change over time. Yeah. But sometimes also we have to accept that, just as I said earlier, there's no creation without destruction. So it could happen, sooner or later, because it's a cycle, right? Yeah. Yeah. So it's probably the inevitable that there will be wars sooner or later, but it's just a matter of when, not if. Yeah.
And I like to imagine that after enough wars, do you believe personally, and does your community believe that there will be a point where we will detach from the need for wars?
I hope so. But I think it's tough for humans at this point in time.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you think we have such an inclination to fight?
I think we need to make sure we have a sense of security, and in that we need to have, territory, we need to have land, we need to have money, food, and all of this is what makes us feel safe. Housing, food, yeah. And governments give us this sense of security too, and governments are supposed to protect people and create this sense of security. Yeah.
In the hierarchy of monks in Buddhism, is there a certain governance there that's kind of different than maybe like our systematic?
I think I wouldn't understand it enough to give you a good answer,
Right.
regarding this.
But it does seem like we never hear stories of monks fighting.
I mean, it can be very political for sure. We just don't see it.
True.
Yeah.
So there are ways.
Exists. Yeah, infighting. There's definitely politics. It's not just about meditation, and because religions kind of need to be run to a certain extent like a government or a business.
Right.
And a lot of countries or regions were formed because of religion. So
Right,
it's very much intertwined with governments and politics, like Israel, Tibet.
Right.
Yeah.
And hopefully on paper or in certain times they do lead people to peace and
right. Yeah.
and prosperity.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate if a religion is using religion to control people. Yeah, in a negative way.
In meditation, do you feel like understanding these layers and these unlockings of the mind, do you feel like that creates more sovereignty? Does that create more almost independence within a human?
I think it creates more clarity, so you understand yourself better, and the world in turn. So I try to understand myself first, and then my relation to the world around me and people around me. And maybe as a result, I am more independent because I know who I am. Yeah.
And do you feel like you still have a dream for the future? Is there something that you get excited for when you imagine more people doing meditation?
Yeah, for sure. I just dream that everybody can meditate more, can be happier because of meditation, or less unhappy, and to find meaning and purpose in their lives, and to find themselves, who they truly are, and to reconnect with themselves. Yeah, the world will definitely be a better place.
Tell me about some of your travels. I know you've been to a few places, like you mentioned Bhutan and Tibet.
Yeah.
Where else have you been that you've encountered people in this high vibrational state?
Definitely Bhutan is one of the most unique places I've been to. And I feel like it's a place that's frozen in time, but at the same time, it can be, you can experience the past, the present, and the future. Whoa. All in the same place. Because, for example, if you go to Tiger's Nest, you're in the past. It's so historic. You feel like you're back in time. and then yet you know that you're still in modern day, and then they're also adopting modern technology. When I first went in high school, I think they didn't even have a traffic light.
Wow.
Yeah, in the capital city.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe now they don't have as well, but it still works. Everything still flows.
Wow.
Yeah, and the government requires building architecture to be traditional Bhutanese. All Bhutanese people still wear their traditional outfits.
Yeah.
So that's why you feel like you're in a different world. But at the same time, they're using their phones. They have TVs.
Right.
They have cars. So it's kind of this great mix of different eras, different time periods, but somehow it just works. And I feel at home whenever I'm there. I just feel like it feels really comfortable to me when I'm there. Yeah. So it's one of my favorite places to visit.
Bhutan, huh?
Bhutan, Tibet, Nepal, that area, Himalayas.
The Himalayan areas.
Yeah.
And have you went on some expeditions or some long hikes or treks?
I did a few treks in high school in Bhutan, and in Nepal less so because of limited time. So I just took a helicopter to Everest Base Camp.
Oh wow!
Yeah, to see it, but we weren't able to do hikes there.
The summit.
Yeah, to summit.
I heard the summits are like super long lines these days.
Right. Yeah.
That's also a very interesting analogy to like enlightenment. Yeah. Everyone's in line to be enlightened. Why is that? Why do you think that's such an innate drive for most people? Why do we want to be enlightened? What is there, do you think, waiting for us?
I think it's related to your question about happiness. People want to be happy. People don't want to suffer. So enlightenment is about ending our suffering. Maybe not being happy, but ending our suffering and to achieve full awareness. So I think it's something also that is hard to be defined with words, but it's something that everybody, well, at least me and the people around me, I'm sure you as well, they're curious about it, and they want to know more about it, and they could set it as a goal for themselves. Yeah, but it can be different for everyone. I think enlightenment can also, it's like exercise again. It could be everybody exercises for a different purpose. For example,
right.
Losing weight, gaining muscle, being more fit. So enlightenment could be the same. The end goal could be different.
Yeah. Have you heard of like the concept of flow states or peak phenomenon?
Yeah.
Is that parallel to enlightenment? Sometimes I wonder, like, is there times have I been in a state of enlightenment and I didn't realize it? Or according to what you have known or what you have heard and experienced, try to describe enlightenment as best as you can, or that state of.
I would describe it as full awareness.
Full awareness.
Without thought. Yeah. You're connected. You're fully connected and you're fully aware, you're fully conscious. But you don't need to think about what you need to do or what you're doing. So there's no more thought involved, which makes life very easy, right? Because we're always thinking. Yeah. That's why it's so hard to be enlightened. So you just exist. You're fully present always. You are fully conscious and aware of everything. Yeah.
And it sounds like fully in trust. And you fully trust in this divine path.
Yeah.
And speaking of divine path, even here in Taiwan, very spiritual culture. We do a lot of respect and bye-bye. Bye-bye meaning, we give our, our honor and our thanks to different types of gods and spiritual entities.
Yes.
I personally believe in benevolent spiritual entities, different, energetical, conscious characters or personalities. There's Mazu, Guanyin, of course Buddha. Some people call them angels. I believe that there are intelligent, loving, compassionate energies that are conscious, that are guiding us. How do you feel about that realm?
Oh, I totally believe that too. And I think their essence is also energy and light. And when some of these figures were human before, and then because of their contribution to humanity or their wisdom, they started to be worshipped. For example, Mazu is known as the goddess of the sea, right?
Right.
Yeah, and she helped to protect a lot of sailors.
Right. She was like the
Yeah,
lighthouse. I
yeah.
heard that she burned her own house for it to be a lighthouse for some lost sailors.
Right. And a lot of people see her as a reincarnation of Guan Yin. Yeah. And you could say that Guan Yin is Virgin Mary.
Right.
Because they're all about compassion.
Right. Truly helping.
Yeah.
She has
Yeah.
thousands of
Compassion.
different hands.
Right.
That,
Yeah. Compassion and love without condition, unconditional love. So they have maybe different forms, but I think their essence is the same. So their essence is, as I said, compassion. You would be worshiping compassion, how to be more compassionate, or how to give yourself compassion. Self-compassion and self-love could be, things to think about when you're praying to, for example, Guan Yin or Mazu. Yeah, yeah.
compassion is very powerful. I
Yeah,
feel like that's
yeah.
that's one of the most powerful technologies of the last, I don't know how many thousands of years, just the concept of compassion.
Right.
What do you define compassion as? Or interpret it as?
Well, as I said, it could be unconditional love, and there are two forms of compassion if you think about it from a Buddhist perspective. One is giving all your love to someone, and the other form is receiving all of their suffering.
Wow.
Yeah. So one is to give all of your love to this person, and the other is to take whatever is bothering them, whatever makes them feel sad, or whatever is causing their suffering, and you absorb all of that. Yeah. So in Chinese, it's both 慈 and 悲. 慈悲 combined creates compassion.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That inspires me to
Yeah.
have a different type of conversation when I'm buying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
These energies can actually take your suffering and dissolve it.
Right. Right.
In theory.
Yeah. So Guan Yin and Mazu, they're willing to take everyone's suffering. Yeah.
Almost like cleanse
For
it.
themselves,
Almost like,
yeah, and releasing it back into, let's say, the earth or the ocean.
wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
I did have a very interesting experience once where, I was talking to a steward of a
Okay.
Mazu temple.
Okay.
It's a very long story. It's a very
Yeah.
long Mazu story. But in this moment, Mazu apparently started speaking through him.
Okay.
And one of the most profound things that I felt came out was he was in the voice of what apparently was Mazu, and he just ooh yo, which I later found out means like everything will be all right. Like there's just this overwhelming sense of like, don't worry,
Yeah.
you're fine,
Yeah.
you're good, I got you, everything will be fine. What is it about that energy that can soothe the soul in your experience from like a divine element?
I think if I were to explain it from an energetic perspective, because some people might not believe in religion, right? Even though I do. Right. So you could just see it as pure energy or light. And that light or energy is vibrating at a speed which is, at the highest level if you look at the chart.
It can make you cry, actually.
It can make you cry.
Yeah,
so when people feel it, then they feel that they're loved, or they feel happier, they feel less stressed, because it's raising their frequency. So I think everything in the universe is really, a lot of people say this, but it's really about energy and vibration and frequency. Yeah. So, but humans, being human, we need to have an image, a form to pray to or to understand. We like to understand things, right?
Yeah,
if we don't understand things, then we start to fear them.
We are the molders.
Yeah,
we like to
yeah,
create
yeah,
with the clay.
right. Yeah, fear just comes from lack of understanding or ignorance. So, these things have forms, and it could be because of maybe when they came to Earth. For example, Mazu, she came as a person, and then after that, she passed away. But the energy is still there. But because she was a person, people had a form associated with her. Then they create this goddess, these statues or art
these symbols
to depict her. But her true essence, which never dies, is the light or the energy that is continuously flowing and giving to everyone.
And vice versa to Jesus or Muhammad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Siddhartha, like all these symbols of this light.
Yeah.
Do you believe in miracles? Have you encountered a miracle or a phenomenon that you couldn't explain, but you just had that feeling like?
I think what happened to me was already a miracle that I overcame my
That's
physical
true.
problem. Yeah. So every day I think I'm very grateful for what happened to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are there times where you really kind of look back and, like even now, are those same doctors, are they like shocked?
I haven't gone back to see them because it was in overseas. Yeah, but I would even say my fall is a miracle, even though when I was in that period and suffering, I thought of it as a curse. But now I really see it as a miracle because I wouldn't be the person I am today if that didn't happen to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
For
wild.
sure. Yeah.
That's wild.
So that's a miracle. The miracles don't have to be positive, I think. Yeah. It's whatever allows you to change and evolve.
That kind of reminds me of The Alchemist. Have you read The Alchemist?
Not yet.
Well, essentially the moral of that was that which the main character was seeking. He had to go on that journey, and he had to go through all this pain and suffering.
Okay.
But in the final moment, before he achieved that, so to say, treasure, his personal legend or treasure, the revelation was that which he was seeking started at the beginning. And something like gave him a clue that, where the story started is actually the end.
Yeah.
Similar to Buddhism, in a sense. They say everything is on the inside already.
Yeah.
What is that?
And then there's no end because everything is just continuously flowing. For example, some people see death as the end, but Buddhists will see it as the beginning of something else.
And do you believe in reincarnation?
I personally do, yes.
How does that work? How does reincarnation work in terms of...
From a Buddhist perspective or personal perspective?
I guess personal.
Okay, personally, I think every soul decides to come to Earth to experience life as a human, and at the same time, to learn, to challenge themselves, and to overcome or pass any tests. And so, Earth is both like a school and like a testing ground. So if you are able to learn and grow and overcome your issues and pass the test, then you can go back to where you came from. Some people might call it, heaven or somewhere else. But if you don't, it's fine. You get plopped back onto Earth again.
In a different form.
Do it again in a different form.
That's very fascinating.
So it's like that video game analogy I made,
The respawn.
Yeah, respawn. Yeah. So you go back, you start from level 1 again. But because maybe you've lived many lives and maybe you passed the first, you in your previous lives overcame or passed the first few levels very easily, that's very fast. So then you just go on to different harder and harder obstacles or levels until you reach the end.
Yeah, I've heard of that. And that's kind of wild to think about, some kind of consciousness experiencing life through billions of different vantage holes.
Yeah.
To almost compound experience at a level that's infinite, essentially.
And there could be higher beings who want to help humans. For example, Buddhists might call them bodhisattvas, or Christians might call them angels, where they are already at a good place somewhere else, but they decide to come to Earth as a human in order to help people learn more about themselves, in order to help people overcome their suffering.
What do you think that process is leading towards? Like, I think it's interesting because I think the human mind, at least I try to speak from a point of view for an audience that is maybe curious.
Okay.
Even though myself, there are things that I think I personally believe and trust that I might not have to say, but then I try to, of course, we're conversing, so we're word playing.
Yeah, yeah.
And what do you think that is that these bodhisattvas, like if there is logic, so logic and illogic are always like tai chiing, right? They're always yin-yanging. But if these bodhisattvas, these light beings, these high dimensional frequency, sometimes people understand them as fifth dimensional, fourth dimensional, as far as 12th dimension,
right.
Beings of love and light and compassion.
Yeah.
Why do they want more people to become light? What do you think their intentions are?
Their intention is just people to be less unhappy.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. To end their suffering. Yeah. In Buddhism, they say that humans are life is in general suffering. Yeah. It sounds very pessimistic, but I think it's quite realistic. So it's how to overcome that suffering. Yeah.
But then we came here to suffer.
Yeah, we came here to suffer and to learn. But you can't really grow unless you suffer a bit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like a catch-22 almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've also heard of a theory of certain beings that kind of drink the energy of what we create as humans. So if we're like in pain and desperation and war and violence, there are certain energies that feed from that energy, and of course on the other side the light. So
yeah, it's possible. Yeah, yeah.
Almost like this another food chain of sorts, energetical food chain. Has there ever been encounters? Because I know in like Tibetan there's that moment of the death in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. There's like you face this like giant thousand-eyed demon, and if that's a test where I remember reading like if you become afraid, you have to go back to Earth. Something like that.
I think you. Let me think. It's hard to explain, I think,
Right.
because these beings could be also mindsets. Yeah, you could call it hell, right? Because if somebody is suffering, some people who are suffering, then they want to drag them to their level to feel good. They need people to join them at their level. So you could hear about energy vampires. Yeah. So they kind of suck other people's energies to maybe raise their own energy. Yeah. So it's definitely possible, and I think from a spiritual perspective, there are people who pass away, and if they're not able to pass on to their next life or to where they should go, then they become stuck on Earth without a human body. And they inherently, they are negative energy, even though they were human before. So when people encounter spirits or they feel spirits, then they might feel like they're being drained. Yeah, or they feel down. Yeah, it's because of the clash in energy. So definitely they exist. We can't see them.
Right.
Yeah, or some people can see them, but I believe that they definitely exist, and I don't see them as bad. Now I'm talking about spirits, dead spirits. Yeah, I don't see them as bad, but they used to be human, and they also had their attachments, things
Right.
they can't let go of, things they wanted to achieve or do when they're alive, and because of that attachment, they ended up staying.
Right.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
In a way, yeah. I mean, it's interesting to acknowledge.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to acknowledge this, and even, you know, of course, some of the atheists I've spoken to. I mean, personally, I feel, again, this is my opinion, that when you encounter somebody who does not want to even remotely consider potential life after death or energy or spirits,
Yeah.
I almost feel like that is a coping mechanism to subscribe to zero responsibility. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like when I've met people who are really atheists and they feel like, no, nothing matters, it's all chaos, it's all by chance, and I don't believe in God.
Okay.
For some reason, I feel like they just don't want to accept responsibility for anything negative that they may have done or created or subscribed to. How does responsibility work into this paradigm of meditation and mindfulness and love?
I think I wouldn't characterize what I do as responsibility, but really just presence and doing what I should do. Yeah. So I don't feel like it's a responsibility for me. For me, it's what I should be doing. Yeah. Maybe you could say it as a calling or what brings me purpose. Yeah. But I don't think it's a responsibility, because maybe if you say it as a responsibility, it could be that you feel like you have to do it, that you've been tasked to do it, you know? Yeah. That it's maybe kind of a chore. Yeah. But for me, it doesn't feel like a chore or a responsibility. It just feels like I really enjoy doing it, that's why I do it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I can sense that. I can sense that. Do you feel like there are certain energies guiding you?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah.
Any specific examples or experiences that you felt like, wow, something is watching over me?
I think as we talked about earlier, when you go to a temple or a church or somewhere with really high vibration, then you feel touched. You feel the love, and you feel that you're being taken care of, and you can connect easily with your intuition, or you can easily overcome any issue that you might be having in that state. Yeah. So I think it's different for everyone. Some people see light, some people see colors, or some people will see imagery of Jesus, different.
Right. I've even heard people smell things like.
Yeah. So for everyone, it's different, and so some people will receive messages, like maybe that the steward that you met, and
Like it was like a channeling.
Like a channeling, yeah. So they're definitely there, and they use different methods and ways, and maybe sometimes people to channel messages in order to help others.
Right.
Yeah. So I strongly believe in that, and I think it's best for everyone to experience it in their own way. They shouldn't have any expectations, but if you have enough faith, I think that's the most important mindset to have. If you have faith that they are there, that they're helping you, then you can connect easily. But if there's, a certain sense of doubt or disbelief or even opposition towards the idea, then you'll never be able to connect. Yeah, I shouldn't say never, but it will be much tougher to connect. Yeah.
100%.
So faith is
powerful.
It's something that is so powerful. Yeah.
I think I said this on the podcast one time about the difference between faith and trust. Is like trust is looking at a tightrope walker on the tight line, on the tightrope. You trust that he's gonna make it to the other side. Faith is allowing him to carry you on that tightrope, going up there.
Yeah.
So that is quite a leap.
Beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
quite a leap.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best way people can make that leap? How can we make that leap?
I think it's to understand yourself first. Yeah, to know yourself fully. Then you'll be more open. When you no longer fear, when you understand your fears and you understand yourself fully, then you'll be more open to other ideas. You'll be more willing to accept things. Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you also, how would you interpret beyond the hustle? Like when you hear these words, I was curious what your interpretation of that was.
I would say beyond thought and concept, human concept. Yeah. So into the spiritual realm or into the soul. Yeah. Yeah.
And looking forward to the future for people who are listening, who are excited to kind of take this leap and this journey, what do you feel they should take away from this? What's the main message you feel like they should take away?
I think the main message is that if you want to be less unhappy, then you need to put in the work rather than chase simple pleasures and constant seeking. So you really just have to go within. And to do that, it takes work and time and effort and determination. And at the same time, if you don't know how to do it, then you can find a teacher, a method, a philosophy, or religion that works for you. So it doesn't have to be a traditional one. It can be, nowadays there are many different types of new schools of thought. So you can just try and experience different methods, different types of meditation, prayer. It could be finding your flow state. Yeah, and then through trial and error, you'll be able to understand. Through time, you'll be able to understand yourself better as a person, and maybe you'll find what's suitable for you. And once you find that that exercise or that method that works for you, that resonates with you, then you can start to work harder. Yeah, and start to build up your training. And definitely you'll see results if you work hard.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And
So training your mind muscle.
The mind muscle, exactly.
Yeah.
On a fun note too, just like any muscle, I'm an athlete myself. When everything's working well, I'm able to do more. I'm able to do some crazy moves on the basketball court or football field. In that light, I'm sure you've experienced many different forms, but what's one or two of your most favorites? I was going to say famous, but maybe you're known to have done things. But what's your most favorite thing or fruit of having this strong mind? Is there something that happened that you're like, yo, this one time, maybe it was like the most fun you've ever had, or just a moment of pure bliss? Can you share just a high note on that?
I just enjoy life more. So life becomes more beautiful after you meditate often enough. You just appreciate the small things in life. Yeah. So previously, maybe things that would make me bored, for example, being in nature or watching the sunset. Now it's completely different. My perspective changed. Yeah. Or if I rewatch a movie, re-listen to a song that I used to like, I would hear it differently. Or I have a different perspective. Or it would sound even better than before. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it's almost like this fresh layer of
different
connection,
lens.
different lens.
Yeah.
So for anybody who wants to join the Infinium or follow your progress and maybe attend one of your sessions and perhaps even, have you become a mentor for them, how can they follow you or connect to you?
We have Instagram. It's just infinium.tw.
Okay.
Or you can just go on our website as well. It's the same, infinium.tw.
Awesome.
And for English speakers, you can email us or message us because most of our content is in Chinese.
All right,
but
cool.
our team speaks English, so we're happy to translate or to guide in English. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And any future events coming up? Anything?
We
Any
usually
gatherings?
have multiple classes a week, and we do periodic bigger events. For example, we just did a 3-day retreat last month for
Nice.
people wanting to experience different classes all in just one weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we're planning to do that a few times a year, maybe twice a year,
That's
or
awesome.
every season. So we'll share our updates on our Instagram, and we also have our scheduling on our website. So you can book everything via our website, including group classes. And for private sessions, you can just message our platform via our website, and you can book through us.
That's wonderful,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
I look forward to joining as well
Yeah,
and
yeah. Come
having an
anytime.
experience. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Danny.
Ivan.
It's been a pleasure to have you.
Same.
I'm sure we can keep on going.
Yeah.
My pleasure, brother.
Thank you so much.
Danny One.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
for all of you guys, make sure you comment, like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one, man.